It's a question that has plagued sellers of homes since modern day real estate sales even became a thing. Should I try to buy my next home before I sell my current home? Or should I sell my current home before I buy? What to do? This video is going to break down the pros and cons of each scenario for you so you can make a decision as to which might be the best for you. Let's get into buying then selling first. When you buy a home before you sell a home, unless you have the luxury of not requiring the equity from your current property to finance the purchase, it's really important to understand that only two things can actually happen to the home that you'd like to buy. The home will sell to you, or a better way to think about it is that home will sit. I'll explain that shortly. Or the other thing that'll happen is that home will sell to someone else. There's only two things that can happen. It's important to add as well that what a lot of optimistic would-be home buyers don't typically realize is that when a buyer writes an offer on a home that is conditional upon them selling their current home, almost every time a clause will be added in the benefit of the seller. This clause reads, "The seller may, upon the receipt of another accepted offer, deliver a written notice to the buyer or the buyer's agent requiring the buyer to remove all conditions from the contract within a certain amount of hours, delivery of the notice not to include Sundays or statutory holidays. If the buyer fails to remove all conditions before the expiry of the notice period, the contract will terminate. Your offer as the buyer in the first position can simply be bumped by a second buying party." This ties in with the whole theory of either the home is going to sell to someone else or it is going to sit or sell to you. If you are not willing to fully commit to that home at that time and go condition free on that particular property before you have sold your current home, you also want to consider the expenses that you may incur on the home that will now potentially sell to the second party. Items you have paid for in advance, like home inspections, appraisals, and more. Now, the good news is sometimes that second buyer, well, they don't ever come around, and that 24 or 48 hour clause is not invoked. This is where the property will sit, or said another way, sell to you. So why do I say the property will sit? This is because you may have frozen the market price of the home in benefit of the seller. Let me explain that. In the pursuit of tying this up, this home you want to purchase and trying to sell your other home, you've locked in a price on the seller's home that you want to buy. Since we know that the home can only either sit, which is really selling to you, or sell to someone else, the only reason that that property is likely not selling to someone else is because the price is too high. And now you have frozen the price. This means the seller is not privy to all of the market fluctuations occurring and the potential of reducing their price down the road. Imagine this. After agreeing to a subject to sale offer, it takes a month and a half for you to sell your current home. That's a month and a half that the current seller would have spent on the market, reacting to the market, getting feedback, and very likely reducing their price to better reflect the market conditions, thus taking it from a sit position to selling to someone else. The reason that they won't experience this is because you have frozen the agreed to price and likely paid more for the property than what you may have got it for a month and a half later. In this scenario, writing an offer that is subject to the sale of your current property, you also may not get the best price when negotiating on the seller's home. And the reason for this is quite simple. They look at you as someone who they are somewhat putting their house on the sidelines for while you try to sell your home and get it sold. They have no idea how your home will show, whether the price is going to be attractive for buyers, and generally if it will indeed ever sell. They might not deem you as a serious buyer, therefore they might not decide to negotiate their absolute best value with you. The tactic generally for buying a home before selling your own is generally suited better for a slower market where listings are sitting for longer for sale and there are less buyers buying. The benefit of this tactic is that even if you do freeze the price and potentially pay a little more than what the market value might be, You feel a sense of security in knowing that you have a great home on the other side of your sale. So, what if you decide to sell and then buy? Well, let's address the elephant in the room first. The number one concern by sellers who will become home buyers, of course, is that they are worried about what they might find after they sell their home. They don't want to be homeless. And why would they? Luckily, this challenge is relatively easy to address because in the end, everyone has a price point. And many homes available fit into their budget. When looking for a home, we're really looking for the very best home that you can get for your money. We want to accomplish building comfortability for our buyers by simply introducing them to properties within their price points. This allows them to make sure that the vision they have in their heads for their next property matches their affordability. Getting their toes wet through market knowledge, visiting other properties, they generally are going to know what a great home in their price point will look like. With this scenario, you always exactly know what you're going to get for your sale as well, because it's going to allow you to understand how much you can spend on your new property. To add comfort, there are 3 simple strategies that can also be applied when selling your home in preparation to buy a new one. And depending on how busy the market is, some strategies are certainly better than others. The first one is making an offer that comes in on your current home subject to you finding and buying a new one. This is not ideal though, as many buyers are wanting to purchase your property. And they're wanting to get the dates somewhat set in stone and have a clear confirmation about when they would be into the home. This is great on the seller's end, however, as it does certainly protect you from having a fully committed sale of your home without having another home to go to. The second and more improved option is a rent back option. This is where you rent back your current property from the new buyer, allowing you to enter into a tenancy on your current home, saving you from the possibility of doing a double move and also allowing you the flexibility to exit the rental with 30 days notice to the new buyer. Some sellers have a hard time wrapping their heads around this though. And the reason is, as market prices for all properties have likely increased over the years, the amount that they are paying in their mortgage versus what the current market rent on their property might be is often very different from each other. This leads us to the last and certainly best strategy in my opinion, which is structuring a longer completion and possession date on the sale of your current home. Pushing the dates out a little longer than what would be typical allows you to really shop the market and make sure that you've got exposure to a healthy amount of properties to make a great decision, to be able to purchase your next home. The detriment of this, of course, is you will have to make a decision eventually. Oftentimes, a seller can even negotiate a term where they can unilaterally move the dates forward or backwards as the seller to better fit their purchasing decisions. So there you have it. You know all the things to consider. And now my question to you, do you buy and sell, or do you sell then buy? Good luck out there. Thanks for watching.